I'm here with my awesome friends from oil and gas and all over the world, and we're here talking about PMP exam. And we are a study group from Praizion getting ready for PMP. And every week, I like putting people on the straight and narrow to remind them that the exam is really just based on 35 tasks. It boils down to 35 tasks. If you don't have the PMP exam immersion book, I want to make it very clear this is the one-stop shop that we are looking for you guys to use for your PMP because it has this cadence to it. It has 14 tasks in people, 17 tasks in process, and 4 tasks in business. And if you're able to hone in on those, you will be laughing all the way to the score bank. You will do awesomely. Just make sure you look at the workbook that comes with that. If you've got the electronic one, which everyone on the call here did. And remember, there are 100 questions in the workbook that I would love for you to go through, unravel them, make sure you understand them, because the exam is going to boil down to what should the project manager do next? Or what should the project manager have done? Or what should the project manager do first? All right. This is where I take a very quick 5 to 10 minutes to remind you about what the exam has in store. The exam is going to test you in these areas: Agile on the top left. Scrum is definitely known as the most popular Agile framework, so you can expect that on the exam, right? That's the bottom left. You can also expect the PMI Code of Ethics, good and bad, right and wrong, to be tested in some way. You also expect to see some predictive, the 49 processes, which our friend Gabriel was just talking about. Having mastered the 49, very happy about that. If you have not mastered the 49, please do that. I share the same sheet week after week. I know Prashant has also been digging into the 49. Prashant, have you mastered the 49 to perfection, or you still working, chiseling away at it?
I remember 49, but I cannot say. So I think I'm like 95% there. I still have to work another 5-10%. But the
Okay,
key is I get up every day and look at it. It's printed out right in front of my screen and it's
nice.
there. So
Nice. Well, let me just remind everyone and those watching after the fact, if you do not have this to hand, you might want to save this link. It's from UCLA. UCLA put this up some years ago, and ever since I found it, I just use it to remind everybody, hey, this is the 49. You got the 5 process groups, 10 knowledge areas, you got the 49 processes. You got to know what they are, you got to know what you get from them, and not cramming, but really understanding is key, is what I tell people, right? So over here we have the predictive piece, the 5 process groups, the 10 knowledge areas. When you begin to get some of this stuff down better and better, you will indeed get to perfection, okay? And then we have hybrid, the Agile Practice Guide. I know some of you have that on your agenda, but these are the knowledge areas: integration, scope, schedule, cost, quality, resources, communication, risk, procurement, stakeholder. You got to know what that's all about. And as you begin to get ready for your exam, some of you, right, getting ready for your exam, just remember that time management is big. So you want to get good with looking at questions and answering them in about 1 minute, not more than 1 minute, 15 seconds. 1 minute is a sweet spot in my mind. So if you're able to achieve that, that will be absolutely awesome. But right here on the screen, we also have sleep, right? Understand scenario-based tests, understand that sleep is important. And if you're able to put all of this in context, the next thing is the PMP content outline, which has people, process, and business. So people domain, I know one of us has started reading that today. People is all about the leadership and working as a team. Process is all about the 49 processes and the frameworks, such as Scrum and stuff. And then the business piece is all about working as a project manager in a business. So today, what I really want to focus on super quick is people, process, and business. And I know we've already started this journey. The last time we met, Dawn, I don't know if you recall, Morgan isn't here to remind me. I think Prashant was here. Prashant, you got a question?
yes, sir. I got a question on sleep. I have seen all those words. I've never seen sleep before. So I might have missed it.
Sleep is really just telling you you need to get your good 8 hours before the day. Because if you don't, it could be very hard for you to think and process the questions mentally. So I tell people, get a good night's sleep and check out the venue, these two. Good night's sleep, and don't check out the venue the night before. You probably want to check it out like a few days before so that your mind is at ease. Because it's all about the mind. PMP exam, in my mind, is about 90% mental. Because if you're not able to process, if this engine is dull, you're not going to be able to rapidly process the questions. I always tell people my story of how I went into the exam and I could only do 20 questions in 1 hour. Maybe I studied too much the night before and my brain wasn't functioning. And I had to say, get a hold of yourself, buddy. Get on this thing and get it done. And I went to question 200, and magically the questions became a lot easier. It might have just been mental, but I think the exam is front loaded in a lot of instances. And I've heard this from people. When I say front loaded, a lot of the harder questions are in front. And because they're in front, they waste your time such that by the time, you know how the exam is. So you got part one, 60 questions, part two, 60 questions, part three, 60 questions. Part one, after part one, you have a break if you want a break. The break, if you don't use it, you lose it. And then you go into part two, and then you have another break, and then part three. What I hear is that people in part one, they wasted so much time that by the time they got to part two, they had already spent 90 minutes. Now, remember what I told you, if you're taking the exam, you probably want to do 1 minute and not more than 15 seconds, like 75 minutes tops for each section. So if you spend 90 minutes for part one, you're going to be playing catch up, and it becomes progressively more difficult because you're becoming more panicky and fretting. So just plan your time, right? And also plan your sleep before the exam. You got to have that sleep. That sleep is what is going to help you power through it all. Okay. So that's what I meant by sleep. All right. Let's dive into the areas very quick as we always do. Number one is people. For the people domain, you need to understand the flow. And I've broken it down by logic as opposed to how PMI arranged it. So you got to build a team, and then you got to define team ground rules. You got to remember your 5 stages of team development. Who can tell me the 5 stages? Who remembers?
Forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning.
Adjourn.
Awesome. I love it. Well done. All right. Then we talk about ground rules. What is another word for a team charter where we put ground rules? We put ground rules in a team charter, but that is also known as what?
Contract.
Lovely. Team contract. What else? Does anyone remember any other words? Also called a social contract, right? What else? Team charter, social contract, team
An agreement?
contract, team agreement. Lovely. Very good. Team agreement. You guys are on the money. Awesome. And then we talk about leading a team. Part of leading a team is understanding that we should not try to lead everyone the same way. That's important, right? So the Hersey-Blanchard model comes in, building a shared understanding with transparency and openness. Task 5, ensuring people are adequately trained in the firm. As a project manager, don't be surprised. PMI wants you to be accountable and responsible, getting training. Now, if you're in the world of Agile, the team takes on that accountability of ensuring they are well trained. There's something we call the skills marketplace. And the skills marketplace just means that we're trading and exchanging skills, right? We're doing pair training like that. Mentor relevant stakeholders is very similar. Empowering team members and stakeholders is just giving the team the environment and support they need and trusting them to get the job done. As the Agile Manifesto says, managing conflict. Do you folks remember the 5 styles of conflict resolution? What are they?
Confront.
Good.
Uh,
What is another word for confront? Who knows? Confront or what? Problem solve. What is another word for problem solve? Collaborate.
Collaborate.
Yeah, you got to have these at your fingertips. All right. What else do we have as part of the 5?
Smooth.
Say that again.
Smooth or accommodate, I guess.
Yes, smooth or accommodate. Good. You're on the money. So I want you to
Compromise
go back
and
and
reconcile, right? The
yes,
middle.
compromise, reconcile. Which other one?
And on the left
You
is
remember the bad one that people say is not good? Force or
there's no
force or direct. Force or direct.
also direct
Yes. Yes.
and
So
avoid.
you got to avoid. Good. Avoid or withdraw. You got it. I think we got all five of them. So you got to know those, right? When it comes to virtual teams, look up the word fishbowl window. Does anyone know what the fishbowl window concept is?
Yeah, it's like get the camera on kind of all the time. Everyone looks like a virtual room that everyone can get in and get out like
Got it.
throughout
Exactly.
8 hours a day.
Thank you. You got it. Long-lived video conferencing. Awesome.
Is it
Collaborate
also-
with stake. Say that again.
Sorry, Phil, is it also called a war room or it's a different one?
Yeah, the war room is different. The war room is the same approach, but when we talk about the fishbowl window, it's not necessarily a formal meeting. It's long-lived video conferencing that is open for anyone to come and go. And we observe each other. So if we're working as a team and we have a fishbowl window implemented, as we come and go, like you go in and out of the office, but I'm sitting down and I'm learning by osmosis what Gabriel is working on. I'm learning by osmosis what Don is working on because I'm hearing and I'm seeing the world around me like a fish looking out of the bowl. So it's kind of like a metaphor for the fish looking out of the bowl, but it's used a lot in virtual teams for virtual teams to be more cohesive.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. All right. Collaborate with stakeholders. That's a no-brainer. Address and remove impediments. Support team performance. Promote team performance by using emotional intelligence. So what is EI? The ability for you to bridle your emotions and the ability for you to influence the emotions of others. Just don't forget that. And then we talk about negotiate project agreements. So today we're going to continue from where we stopped. Dawn, do you remember where we stopped in? Were we in people or were we in process?
I think we were finishing people and starting process.
We're getting into process. Good. So let me give you the 411 of process. Then I'm going to hand the ball over to you, make you the co-host. I think you already are the co-host. And then I'm going to ask for you to share, as we always do, the immersion book. And then you folks are going to continue from where you stopped. If you want to just jump in process, that's fine. But let's go over process real quick, okay?
Can I
In
ask you about
process,
your last diagram? Just
the
so,
last slide.
yeah, just so I understand,
Sure.
like I get
This
all the
one?
points. Yeah, I get all the points you spoke about, but why all the different order? Because when you say task 10 or task 12,
Yeah.
that's what's in the immersion book, right?
Yes, great question. So the reason why I do this different from the immersion book follows the PMP exam content outline exactly as it was written. However, the way the PMP exam content outline is ordered is not the best logical way. For example, the very first task in the PMP exam content outline is manage conflict. Who starts a project like that? That's not the first thing you do. The first thing you do is not to manage conflict. This is it on the screen. Do you see what I'm saying, Don?
Yeah.
You don't manage conflict and then you don't begin leading a team. No, you start off by doing something different. Let's see, number 6. No, it's not even number 6. It is, where did we start off in my image here? Let me see where
Yeah,
we
it is
started
6.
off.
Build a team,
Did
right?
we? Oh, it was build a team. Okay, so build a team is a better way of starting off than managing conflict. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you build a team and then there's something to have conflict about because you've gone through the 5 stages of team development, right? You've now set the ground rules and conflict will emerge. So if you follow the way they have it here, it's manage conflict, then lead a team, then support team performance, then empower team members and stakeholders. And I know these happen all the time, but I just preferred looking at it from think about the people who are working the project first. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, okay.
Yeah, then you can define the ground rules. Then after defining the ground rules, it's sensible to now expect great leadership. So that's the idea.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let me go into the last piece before I hand it over to you folks to, hopefully you're going to be able to cover several chapters after I get out of your way here. But for the process domain, in that same vein, the first thing you do is determine the methodology. Then you establish governance, rules and regulations for the project. Then you integrate the project planning activities. You plan and manage the project or phase closure. You plan and manage scope and schedule and budget and resources. You plan and manage quality. You plan and manage everything, including risk. You assess the risks, and then you manage them. You plan and manage procurements. And now you can execute the project with urgency to deliver business value. You ensure knowledge transfer. You manage project issues as they emerge. You manage project changes. You manage project artifacts. And finally, we get to managing communications, which we do 90% of the time, 70 to 90%. And then we engage our stakeholders. So this is a narrative that you can build into your everyday. And this is what I wanted to share with you just to keep you aligned and remind you of what the exam is all about. The exam is all about those tasks. There's 4 more in business, but we won't go into that today because your work as a study group is to tackle the remainder, probably the last 2 processes of people and as many as you can attack in process. Thank you very much.